I'm pressing charges against my mother-in-law for what she did to my daughter. My husband comes from one of those perfect suburban families where everyone has straight A's and plays 3 sports. His mother ran the PTA for 15 years and never missed a single bake sale. She had this way of making everything look effortless while secretly judging everyone who couldn't keep up. My daughter Emma is 6 and autistic. She's brilliant and funny, but gets overwhelmed at big gatherings. Loud noises make her cover her ears, and too many people talking at once can trigger a meltdown. My mother-in-law never understood this. She'd make these little comments about how her other grandchildren could sit through entire church services without making a peep. Each comment felt like a tiny knife in my chest. Things started getting weird at Thanksgiving. Emma was doing pretty well until all 20 relatives started talking over each other during dinner. She put her hands over her ears and started rocking. My mother-in-law swooped in immediately and said she'd take Emma to the guest room to calm down. I thought it was actually helpful of her. I was grateful even. 20 minutes later, they came back and Emma was completely different. She sat perfectly still at the table with this glassy look in her eyes. My baby looked like a zombie. Everyone complimented how well behaved she was being. My mother-in-law kept patting her own back about having the magic touch with children. Something felt off, but I couldn't put my finger on it. My stomach churned watching Emma stare blankly at her plate. The same thing happened at my brother-in-law's birthday party. Emma started getting overwhelmed by the noise and my mother-in-law volunteered to help. Again, Emma came back unusually calm and drowsy. This time I mentioned it to my husband, but he brushed it off, saying his mom probably just had a calming presence. I wanted to scream that calming presence doesn't dilate pupils. By Christmas, I was suspicious. We arrived at my mother-in-law's house and Emma was actually doing great. She was playing with her cousins and handling the chaos well. She was laughing and being herself. Then around dinner time, my mother-in-law insisted Emma looked overstimulated, even though she was fine. She took Emma's hand and started leading her upstairs. This time I quietly followed. I waited outside the guest room and heard my mother-in-law talking in this sweet voice. "Here's your special grandma juice to help you be a good girl." My blood turned to ice. I pushed open the door and saw her holding a cup to Emma's lips. On the nightstand were 2 crushed up pills and an empty Benadryl bottle. I completely lost it. I grabbed Emma and asked my mother-in-law what she was doing. She actually smiled and said she was helping Emma fit in better with the family. She'd been drugging my child for months because she was embarrassed by her autism. She kept saying she was doing us a favor and that Emma was finally acting normal, thanks to her. My hands shook with rage as I held my baby. I scooped up Emma and ran downstairs screaming for my husband. My mother-in-law followed, immediately switching to victim mode. She started crying about how she was just trying to help, and I was being dramatic. My husband walked in from the garage and she ran to him sobbing about how I was attacking her for caring too much. I told him everything and showed him the crushed pills. He actually said, "Mom, that's not okay," but then immediately followed it with, "But let's not overreact. It's just Benadryl." I looked at him like he'd grown a second head. His mother had been secretly drugging our autistic child to make her more convenient, and he wanted to chalk it up to good intentions. My heart shattered realizing he'd choose her over Emma. I took Emma straight to the emergency room. She clung to me the whole ride, whimpering, "No more grandma juice." The doctor confirmed she'd been given an adult dose of Benadryl and said we were lucky she hadn't had a serious reaction. He also had to make a mandatory report to Child Protective Services. That night I told my husband he had 2 choices. He could support me in pressing charges against his mother, or he could pack his things. He spent 3 hours on the phone with his mom while I comforted Emma. She kept asking if she'd been bad. The next morning he told me I was